When I use the phrase natural awakening, I'm not suggesting that this is something that we need to be doing that is quite natural and therefore easy. I'm actually trying to hint at something much bigger than that. It's the sense that life is awakening. It's not that life does awakening, life is awakening. Part of the difficulty perhaps is the way we use the word awakening. Right? It's built up a whole lot of meanings today. And yet, in a very simple way, again, borrowing from a Buddhist background, it could be a translation of Bodhi, which gave rise to Buddha. Right? And that, yes, it can be translated as awakening, but it can also be translated as flowering. Right? And so you imagine for a moment, you look at a flower and it's just a bud, and then it begins to open, right? And it does that because the gardener is saying, 1, 2, 3, open, open, open. It's not something that you do to the flower. The flower, a flower that is not a flower. It's like, we are not solid, unchanging lumps that perhaps might awaken. We are dynamic, continuous flowerings. My kidneys are flowering into the new moment, right? They're, in a sense, making adjustments just as the flower is adjusting to the light and the chemistry in the leaves and so on. My heart is adjusting. My lungs are adjusting. Life is a continuous flowering. Okay? And it's not contrived. This is partly why I think I said natural awakening, and I kind of made a point of this, is because I saw many people actually looked at it as an unnatural awakening. It was a kind of special awakening for spiritual beings, right? And so, in a sense, sometimes we talk about the Dharma, and we talk about the Dharma in terms of being the path of living, right? I'm walking the Dharma, I'm walking the path of Dharma. And I think for many people, they haven't yet intuited that what they call the path of Dharma is only the path to the path. Right? The path of Dharma, the path of truth, is the living that you are. And the living that you are is a continual flowering in response to other flowerings. Right? Even they're not necessarily nice flowerings. It's a beautiful thing, this awakening and flowering and everything. But we are also flowering to the reality of COVID, right? It's like a new thing is coming into being, and good things can come out of that, and bad things can come out of that. Right? And so people would come and they make a separation between the spiritual life, which is about awakening, right? And the kind of humdrum ordinary life, which is the natural junk that we have, that you're stuck with. And I'm trying to, by using this phrase, like recognizing, no, this is not contrived, right? There's a kind of a natural awakening that for example, you just take the sperm and you take the egg and they put them together under the right situation and the circumstances, and nobody's making this fetus grow. It's growing, right? There's an awakening into the world. Sense eyes are growing, ears are growing. You come into the world like, oh, what's this? You're awakening. It's completely natural, right? And so this is the path. This is the true Dharma. Except overlaying all of this are all kinds of hopes and fears and opinions and social expectations and beliefs and customs and what have you. So that although we grow out of this, we don't realize this, right? Somehow we've contrived this idea that there's something lacking in our being and I have to do this to fix this and so on. And so a lot of the practice of Dharma are actually tools to encourage a kind of flow of experience that might allow us to intuitively go, oh, this is all unnecessary. Life is a natural awakening, right? And that's not the end. That's not the realization, this is nirvana, this is enlightenment. This is now you've discovered the path of Dharma and you can enter into it, which is this living that we're doing with each other as we together co-create a world. Does this give a sense of what I'm getting at? There are various practices and techniques in my book, Natural Awakening. I suggest about 20 some odd different types of techniques and methods and so on. But all of them are really to bring about a harmonizing of our body, speech, and mind. And so that in that, there can be an awakening of wonderment, an awakening of question, what is going on here, in a way which isn't a panic. It's not a what's going on, I got to find out, but it's more like, wow. And then you realize just walking down to the shop to buy some bread is actually quite extraordinary. Or, right, washing the dishes or planting a garden or, right, teaching a child, going to work, very extraordinary, right? So the methods and so on are to, in a sense, give us a leverage. It's like I can work with this method while I still haven't really intuited this vast field of inter-knowing, inter-becoming that we are, this awakening, this natural awakening. And what's awakening actually is not the realization of natural awakening. What's awakening is curiosity, question, wonderment, and then no one needs to tell us what to do. We sit down in the middle of our life with this curiosity and question and wonderment, and our living becomes our path of awakening.